the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen.
Amen.
Carol Miro, how old is Juliet?
2.5.
2.5. All right. Well, something emerging in Juliet's life is interest in an expanding interest in food and cooking. So Carol, I think it's true, you're considering setting up her own little kitchen for her and have started to research how to find plastic food that looks like real food. Is that right? Do you remember having such things? I remember being probably her age and being fascinated going off to a nursery school in our town and finding there a little mini kitchen. And I was supported in just exploring it and enjoying it. All the plastic food and the pretend cooking. And of course in our gospel today, Jesus talks about true food. What's true food? The real food. And you know, plastic food isn't the real food. But then I wonder when we're in a restaurant and someone comes with a tray full of pretend desserts, we associate real food with that, right? And we go, but we know it's not really real food, but we can pick real food from the tray. Or we think, well, that'll be real food, and then we have the dessert, and sometimes it's really satisfying, and sometimes it's like, why did I eat that? Have you ever said that? You go, oh man, that looked a lot better than it actually turned out to be. It wasn't really satisfying. And Jesus seems to be playing with our need for satisfaction when he talks about himself as being real food. You know, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you will not have life in you. So what is that? You know, and the Jews, those listening, do what I think is a hilarious thing that is recorded in the Gospels. Well, what is this guy to do? How's he going to give us his flesh to eat? You know, so then you have all sorts of images, right? It's sort of gross. I mean, because what is he talking about? And I think it's pretty funny. But that's not what he's talking about. Although he is talking about that. He's talking about drawing near enough to him in his life that you actually taste him. That there's something about getting close to Jesus which is dynamically transformative of how you live in your body. It changes what it's like to live a human life. So what we do on Sunday, coming together for communion, celebrating that Jesus said, you know, whenever you break bread and drink wine, remember me. Well, that we can do every time we have a meal. And it has to do with really hungering for what really satisfies. And sometimes what really satisfies is a good meal. Sometimes what really satisfies is a great conversation. Sometimes it's both together. Sometimes what really satisfies is the longing of your heart being answered in your flesh, but also in a way that is transformative of how you live your life in the flesh. That something is reaching you in your body, in your life, that's more than food, more than nutrition. It's a satisfaction in terms of what it means to be alive that's more than you can quantify by the right exercise, the right nutrition, the right environment, the right circumstances. It's grace. That something of God's loving presence for you and the benevolent caring for you in your human life reaches you in a way that you know it's true. True food. Something truly happens that touches your life as God's love for you and through you in being in your own body and being with others as they really are. You've had tastes like this. We were talking at the door, actually. Gregor went overseas, and It wasn't the sights, he said, but it was the people I spent time with. Is that right, Gregor? He got to meet family members he'd never spent time with before in Ireland. And that was communicating to me something much more nutritious than sightseeing, right? This is an ancient thing, really. In Proverbs, there's a place where it says, this is an old translation, better a dinner of salad, that's a new translation, it says herbs, better a dinner of herbs where love is than the fatted calf and strife therewith. Right? Have you ever been to a Thanksgiving dinner where people weren't talking to each other? You know, it's notorious in my family, this Thanksgiving back in the 50s, where there was violence around the Thanksgiving table. So, you know, we had great food, but it wasn't really digestible because of the environment. And Jesus is talking about that. He's saying you really need to tune in to what's really good for you and what is nutritious and good for others. And don't assume that you've got the right recipe. It's much more than we can sort of design. Although designing events and activities and meals is a wonderful thing. But there's something about the spirit in which it's given and the spirit in which it's shared, which creates the nutritious environment, the dinner where love is. And you can have the fatted calf with that too, but it's not what's on the menu, it's what's in the environment. It's what brings the nutrition. And that's what Jesus is pointing to. He's the true bread. He's the true food. For all of us, however it is that our heart's longings are answered, that's where Jesus is found in your life. And in our communications with other people, that's where Jesus appears in our lives. When true nutrition is present, when something that's transformative takes place that we can't design, but we know it when it's happening. All of us spend a lot of time trying to find what's really satisfying. That's a natural thing to be doing. The right place to live, the right partner, the right family, the right whatever. Well, this food that we're talking about exists whatever the circumstances. God can transform and touch your life, whatever the circumstances are, without them changing a whit. Because God is present and benevolent for you and for those you interact with moment by moment, day by day, just because it's true. It's just true. And we don't work our way into it. We relax into understanding that a loving God is providing for us the true food. And we experience it in our flesh. It's not an idea, although it touches our minds too. But we experience it in our hearts, in our bellies, as a relaxation, a satisfaction, a knowing that we are loved and that we are loved. That's the true food. And so we gather and share in that true food when we break bread and share a common cup. That together we know ourselves to be those who seek and those who appreciate true food.